Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between being ignored and being physically injured. Modern neuroscience shows that social pain registers in the exact same brain region as physical pain, the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex. Today, we're diving deep into the silent pull. What happens when someone ignores you? Why it hurts so intensely? And most importantly, how to respond in ways that protect your mental health and self-worth. By the end of this episode, you'll understand the psychology behind being ignored and have concrete strategies for handling it. Let me bring in someone who's been studying this phenomenon. Help us understand, why does being ignored feel so devastating compared to other forms of conflict?
It's actually rooted in our evolutionary wiring. Being excluded from the group once meant death, so our brains still treat social rejection as a survival threat. When someone ignores us, we experience anxiety, panic, or deep despair. And that's not weakness, that's biology.
So we're literally hardwired to fear this. But there's something specific about being ignored versus other types of conflict, right?
Exactly. Research from Psychology Today shows that being ignored hurts more than being argued with. In an argument, there's still bilateral communication. You have some control over the outcome. But when someone ignores you, information is completely cut off.
That lack of control sounds terrifying.
It is. And here's what happens. When people are ignored, they need to engage in self-reflection to figure out what they did wrong. This leads to systematically going through a list of possible negative qualities about themselves.
Oh, wow. So you're basically forced into this spiral of self-doubt.
Precisely. When you're overwhelmed with a list of negative qualities, being mean, saying inappropriate things, not caring enough, your self-esteem inevitably suffers. In an argument, the problem would have been identified and no further rumination would be required.
That's such a crucial distinction. But I'm curious about something. The page content mentions that being ignored can actually affect our sensory perceptions. What does that mean?
It's fascinating research. Studies show that feeling ignored or excluded is so powerful it can make surroundings seem quieter. Our hypersensitivity to social exclusion cues is so intense it literally changes how we perceive the world around us.
That's incredible. So it's not just emotional, it's affecting our entire reality.
Exactly. And when the silence comes from someone close, a child, partner, or family member, it strikes at the very heart of our identity. You're not just grieving a loss, you're grieving the loss of feeling known, needed, and seen.
The page content describes this as living bereavement. That phrase really hits hard.
It does. Being ignored by someone close can feel more painful than an outright argument. The silence isn't peaceful, it's punishing. It leaves you hanging in the void, questioning your worth.
Now, I want to talk about something important. When does this cross the line into abuse? Because not all silence is the same, right?
Absolutely crucial distinction. Sometimes going silent is actually healthy, to avoid saying things you'd regret, or when someone feels overwhelmed. But the silent treatment becomes abusive when it's used as a tool for control.
What are the warning signs?
According to Healthline, here are the key signs. It's a frequent occurrence lasting longer periods. It's coming from a place of punishment rather than cooling off. It only ends when you apologize or give in to demands, and you've changed your behavior to avoid getting the silent treatment.
So it's about the pattern and the intent behind it.
Exactly. Research shows that frequently feeling ostracized reduces your self-esteem and sense of belonging. When it's used as a power play, people want to put you in your place. They'll give you the cold shoulder for days or weeks to achieve those goals.
And that creates this terrible cycle where you might do anything to get back in their good graces.
That's the trap. It's difficult to live that way, so you're tempted to do everything you can to get back in their good graces, which perpetuates the cycle. This effect is more intense when it's done by someone close to you as punishment.
So how do we respond? What's the right approach when someone is giving us the silent treatment?
First, stay calm. Dr. Brittany McGeehan, a licensed psychologist, says reacting emotionally can escalate the situation. Staying calm shows you're regulated and not easily manipulated.
That makes sense, but it's probably easier said than done when you're feeling hurt.
Absolutely. The next step is actually counterintuitive. Give them space. Some people need time to cool down and process their feelings. It's tempting to rush to the happy ending, but giving space respects their emotional autonomy.
But how do you know when to give space versus when to address it directly?
Great question. If this isn't something they regularly do, try a gentle approach. Calmly tell them you've noticed they're not responding and you want to understand why. Emphasize that you want to resolve things.
And if it is a pattern?
Then you need to set boundaries. Learning Mind suggests attempting to understand first, ask why they're not talking. If it's a logical reason, they should answer calmly. If they're manipulating you, they'll continue being silent or say something like, "You know what you did."
Oh, the guessing game. That sounds exhausting.
Don't give in to it. It could waste hours of your day trying to figure out what you've done. The next step is telling them how this makes you feel. Whether they listen shows you where their actions are based.
So their response tells you everything you need to know about their intentions.
Exactly. If they feel overwhelmed, they'll consider your feelings too. If they're just punishing you, they won't care how you feel. They might tell you they don't care, show further silence, or say something hurtful.
Now, I want to dig into something fascinating from the research, the connection to attachment styles. How does our childhood shape how we respond to being ignored?
This is where it gets really interesting. A study of 120 college students found that those with secure attachment styles had lower rejection sensitivity and higher self-esteem, but students with anxious and avoidant attachment styles reported higher rejection sensitivity and lower self-esteem.
So our early experiences literally wire us to be more or less sensitive to rejection.
Attachment theory shows that early caregiver-child interactions shape our attachment styles, which influence our perceptions and responses to social interactions throughout life. Childhood emotional neglect is particularly relevant here.
How so?
When parents fail to notice, respond to, or validate emotions enough during childhood, children learn to wall off their feelings. They treat emotions as unimportant, just as their parents did. That wall is still there in adulthood.
And that affects friendships and relationships.
Exactly. Many emotionally neglected adults are fantastic friends because it's easier to focus on others' feelings than their own. But they're baffled why their friendships seem lacking. They give so much but don't get the same in return.
That's heartbreaking. So the wall that was supposed to protect them actually starves them of connection.
That's beautifully put. The wall doesn't protect you from emotions, it starves you from them. It blocks you from the very thing you need for rich, genuine relationships, your feelings.
Let's talk about ghosting specifically, because that seems to be becoming more common. What does the research tell us?
Ghosting is when someone suddenly stops communicating without explanation. Evidence suggests it's become an increasingly common way to terminate relationships. One study showed 38.6% of people have been ghosted by a friend.
That's a huge number. Why do people ghost?
Research suggests those prone to ghosting may have personality characteristics like emotional immaturity, avoidant attachment styles, or undiagnosed personality disorders. Those high in narcissism, psychopathy, or Machiavellianism ghost more often due to lack of empathy and maturity.
So it's often more about the ghoster than the ghostee.
Exactly. People ghost for various reasons: to avoid conflict, due to emotional overwhelm, major life transitions, or sometimes for self-preservation in toxic relationships. But it can be considered emotionally abusive when it's a passive yet aggressive pattern.
What's the best way to recover from being ghosted?
First, check in calmly if you have an existing relationship. Send a message like, "I haven't heard from you lately, and I hope I didn't do anything to offend you. If you want to resolve issues, I'd be happy to talk. Otherwise, I wish you all the best."
That's so much more dignified than sending angry messages or pleading.
Exactly. Then accept the truth and give yourself time to grieve. Talk to loved ones about your feelings, put your mental and physical health first, and continue meeting new people. Setting boundaries and treating yourself with compassion helps you move on.
I want to circle back to something crucial: protecting your self-worth. How do we separate our value from someone else's treatment of us?
This is where therapy can be incredibly helpful. One of the most powerful things is validation, confirmation that what you're feeling is real and matters. You're not imagining it, you're not overreacting.
And challenging those beliefs about our worth.
Exactly. Therapy helps you challenge the belief that someone else's treatment defines your value. Their silence reflects where they're at, not proof of your unworthiness. This shift can be liberating and protective.
The page content has this powerful line: "Your worth is non-negotiable." I love that.
That's the key insight. If the pattern persists despite honest effort, choosing to walk away can open space for healthier love and help you both grow toward connections that respect you.
So when you step back from all this research and psychology, what's the most important thing for people to understand about being ignored?
That the pain you feel is real, valid, and rooted in biology, not weakness. Understanding why it hurts so much gives you power over the experience. You can respond thoughtfully rather than reactively.
And you have choices in how you respond.
Exactly. Whether it's giving space, setting boundaries, or walking away entirely, you have agency. The key is recognizing patterns, protecting your mental health, and never compromising your worth for someone else's attention.
Here's what I want listeners to remember. The next time someone ignores you, your brain might scream that it's a survival threat, but you now know that's just ancient wiring. You have the tools to respond with dignity and protect your peace. Remember, silence might speak volumes, but your worth speaks louder.